Hello, my name is Chantel, and I wanted to share with you my fibroid journey. Because when I first started researching fibroids, there was really not a lot of information that was on the net, or just nobody was really telling the story that I had. So I felt kind of alone, and I wanted to just kind of open up and kind of share with people that's what I've been going through and the steps that I've been taking to live with them. So about 7 years ago is when I first noticed kind of like a marble size like ball kind of in the lower abdomen. And I was joking around with like some friends that I'd worked with, and they were talking about how they swore by hydrocolon therapy. I'd never done it before, and I was like, well, if you guys swear by it, let me go give this a try. And so I was thinking that maybe there was something clogged in my colon, and so maybe that's what this ball that was in my lower abdomen was. So while the practitioner was kind of feeling around, like before and during the session, she'd asked me if I had fibroids, and I never really thought about them for myself, but I was thinking back, and my mom actually had to have a hysterectomy because she had uterine fibroids. So I didn't know that much about it other than my mom had gone through it, but I didn't know fully her experience other than the fact that she had to remove her uterus. Now, within researching fibroids a little bit, it's pretty common that a hysterectomy is how most doctors deal with fibroids. When fibroids get pretty bad, you're going to have really, really heavy periods. Sometimes there's going to be pressure on different parts of other organs in the body. And because of these super heavy periods, anemia is really, really common. So fatigue is really common, low hemoglobin, and just all around, you know, you're probably going to have paler skin, just being exhausted all the time. So I'm noticing all these symptoms, but I didn't really notice them for myself. Like I'd read about them, but I didn't feel them yet. But years were starting to go by, and they started to grow. And I'd always worked as a dancer and feel very comfortable in my body, feel very comfortable wearing, you know, whatever skimpy outfit I'm going to be put on a stage. And it got to a point where sometimes people that were casting these dance opportunities, they were like, oh, do you think she can cover this area? And I just remember one time just crying because, like, you know, I had these things growing inside of me and I didn't know what to do to fix them. So I went on a pretty purely plant-based diet. So I kind of took out all meat, all processed meat. One of the causes of fibroids physiologically would be estrogen. Estrogen is kind of like the main culprit within the growth of fibroids. Basically, my liver is not effectively excreting the estrogen. So it's kind of like they become these estrogen ball like sacs that have not been expelled. And so that's what they are. But then within this time, I started going on my spiritual journey as well. And with that, I've been learning about the law of attraction and how our thoughts create things, and that, you know, our beliefs are actually going to create our reality. And so I started to take a look at what my beliefs are. So my mom had told me that she had the fibroids. I believe also my aunt had the fibroids, and she wasn't sure, but she thought that her mom, my grandmother, also had fibroids as well. And within, you know, my spiritual journey, I was reading books by Louise Hay, and she had one called You Can Heal Your Life. And so I looked up and went to see what the emotional connection was to my physical ailment. And so it said a blow to the feminine ego was one of the, you know, emotional causes to fibroids. And so I'm thinking about, you know, my own personal lineage, and really not one of like myself, my mom, my aunt, or my grandmother had like a really positive male role model or male father figure growing up. None of us had parents that stayed together. And none of us also had like a really loving partnership relationship with a man. And so it was really interesting for me to say that, like, oh, we've all had to step into the role of, you know, mother, father, or male, female, doing everything on our own. And I'm super proud that I'm able to stand and take care of myself. But there's something about not allowing like the feminine energy to be itself. It's kind of like I took on like more of like a male energy to go through this world, just because I never had that as something, you know, to look to. I had to look for myself, or look to my mom or my grandmother as like the male figures in my life. And so I was pretty shocked by the fact that, you know, that it might not necessarily be genetic, but it could also be, you know, the thoughts and the beliefs that the women in my family have. So I was pretty kind of bummed out, but I was like, you know what? You know, I'm really spiritual. You know, I studied law of attraction, intuitive law of attraction, coaching wise, and I've been coaching now for a couple of years. And I really, truly, truly believe that I could heal myself. I do believe that we have the power to heal our bodies. I do believe that we have the power to create whatever life that we desire. And I was like, I'm going to do it. So I made sure I got my diet on point, not taking in any extra estrogen, doing liver flushes, going to herbalists and having her, you know, concoct some tinctures that like I would be able to take that would naturally heal the fibroids. I went to an acupuncturist. I really felt and feel like I did everything. I looked at all the emotional components as to why they developed, and I just did everything, and they just keep on getting bigger until now they're probably about the size of, I look like I'm 9 months pregnant, and it's sad sometimes because people will come up to me and they'd be so excited and they're like, oh my God, you're pregnant, or they haven't seen me in a while, like, oh my God, you're like, when are you due? And I have to disappoint them and myself saying that, no, I'm not pregnant. And it's a really awkward moment. I usually go to a room and cry after, because, you know, that's not how I want to come across in the world, especially because I'm not pregnant, and because I'm not comfortable in my body right now, I haven't even allowed like a love relationship into my life, just because I don't even feel comfortable with, like, you know, being that vulnerable, because I don't know, I just feel a little bit like a prisoner in my own body, which I'm sure some of you will understand and have felt the same way too. So about a month ago, no, just right before my 40th birthday, and so it's about 2.5 months ago, I had some really crazy pains, and I thought that I was having appendicitis. So the next morning I went to the walk-in clinic, and then the walk-in said, oh, it actually might be an appendicitis. Like, you need to go to emergency. So I go to emergency, and in emergency, they take blood. And the blood test comes back, and my hemoglobin was at 51. Or 50, no, 51. And so it had dropped over, you know, 25 from the year before, which is also very low. If I'm not mistaken, again, a normal average would be about a 120, and mine was like less than half. And my mom had told me that when she was at her worst, her hemoglobin was at 78. And at that point, she was so weak that she had to like drag herself across the floor to make a phone call to call 911 to take her to the hospital. And that's when she ended up having the hysterectomy, because she really thought that she was going to die. So the doctors were just they were like, how are you dizzy? Like, how do you feel? And like, I'm always a go, 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 do type person. So being tired is never really an issue. It doesn't stop me from getting things done. And also it's been now 7 years, like I just always feel this way. So I just never really realized that like I might be having a lower quality of life. I just thought that I'm doing a lot of stuff, so I'm just tired. And so they gave me an iron infusion for about 3 hours. And then they were asking me if I wanted to do a blood transfusion. And there's something about the blood transfusion, the idea of it, I didn't feel comfortable with it. It just didn't resonate with me. If I was in a car accident and it was something that was going to save my life 100%, I would allow a blood transfusion to happen, but I just didn't feel comfortable with just having one done in the hospital. And that particular day as well, it was just a little bit overwhelming. And I kind of was like, just really sad that like, for how long have I been missing out on life because I've been hoping that I can heal these fibroids on my own. So I'd made an appointment that day. I got a referral to get to speak to a women's doctor at the Women's Hospital in Toronto. And finally I got the appointment and I went to see the lady, and we kind of discussed having surgery. Now, in the past, I had just thought about having surgery, but I've never been to the hospital. I've never really even had to have a prescription. Like, invasive surgery was a little bit definitely overwhelming and like scary for me being put under, and it would be pretty invasive, being like usually hip to hip, or like around the bikini line is usually where they do the surgery from. About a 6-week recovery. So I was always kind of like, no, I can do this on my own. No, I can heal myself. No, I believe that, you know, I have the emotional capacity to heal my body and heal my life. I even at one point was on the waiting list for 2 years for a new procedure called assessment.